All right, here we are, live from Larson, Wisconsin, where it's not too bad today. A little cloudy, not too cold. We've had some snow, but nothing stuck. So look there. Okay. All right. All right. So first off, welcome. We'll have a couple people who will join us. I know that, who always are here for us. And I have to make an announcement right off the bat because I have my phone by me, and if my doctor's office calls, somebody else is going to have to take over for me for a few minutes because I have to talk to my doctor. Everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else. Yeah, right.
I'm only here for 15 minutes, so I'm leaving after that.
Okay, you know. All right. All right, whatever. But anyway. Nobody wants to come on live. What's wrong with you people? It's
elevator
fun.
music.
Yeah, elevator music. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. But I'm in Lisa's spot today because it's only me, and I'm going to talk about something that's not very interesting to the boys because they didn't want to come up and talk about it. But I made no, not the right one. All right. Go away. Go away. False alarm. Okay. Anyway, I made this delightful. I can't make it go away.
Fingers are too cold.
Yeah. I have a problem swiping. I'm sure that other people do too. You know, you get your finger warm and then you still doesn't work. Anyway. All right. I made a pumpkin, a 3D pumpkin. All right. It's supposed to look like the black one, kind of stout. But I decided on orange. And I did this embroidery in the hoop on the 990. It is done partially with Baldani and partially with Isacord. So there's some thick and there's some thin stitching. Took like almost an hour to do one of these pieces because there's a lot of stitching around the outside to make sure that the edges don't fray. All right, yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stitching around the edges. And what I've been working on here is getting the pumpkin put together. And I have a bunch of tools. And if you guys are going to be making some of this stand-up stuff, the lace, there's a whole bunch of OESD stuff that is stand-up, freestanding stuff. And you're going to need a couple of tools in order to get this thing put together. And the best thing I found is one of these and your scissors. Pretty simple, but the hemostat, which is the technical name for this, is good for pulling the little buttons through the eyes. So we can do a little demo here, I think. All right, so I've got it through the eye. All right, through the eye. I'm gonna open it as far as I can, grab one of these little button ears and pull it through. So on this particular piece, not too difficult and not too difficult to keep it together. On some of the lace projects you might work on, these tend to, if you take all of the stabilizer out, they tend to get real floppy. And then these little button ears tend to pop out. I know a lot of people who do this actually, once they've gotten it through the little hole, they tack it down with thread so that it doesn't come apart. This is kind of substantial. With the wool and a fleece backing and the stabilizer, it's quite thick. And once you get it through one of those button ears, it's probably going to stick. All right, I pulled it apart, but I can put it back together. But in a lot of the stand-up lace, it's really thin, and sometimes you will have to tack it together in order to keep it together. Because if you take it apart and put it together, take it apart, put it together, like if you wanted to store it flat, could be a little bit more difficult. But I thought I'd show you what I was working on today, getting this put together. It's a little bit late in the season, but pumpkins are always good, right? It'll be good for next year.
What's the pattern that you're using? And do they have Christmas trees?
It is an OESD pattern. Okay, freestanding pumpkin pattern. This is from OESD. And if you go out on their website, I am sure that they have everything freestanding. They've got, I know that I've seen like a sleigh and reindeer. And so if they have that, they've got to have trees, right? So I would go out to the OESD.com website and see what's new. All right. So yeah, there were a lot of holiday things out there. I'm just late to the show, right? Which is normal around here for me. Okay, any other questions out there? Okay, I see James Armstrong. He's going to come and visit us in a week or so, and we will help him with his 790 Pro. Yay! Frank's out there. Good morning, Frank. All right, some of our regulars are out there. That's good to know. I wanted to talk a little bit about Christmas cheer today because it's going to be that time of the year. And somebody wanted to know about Christmas patterns, and they are out there. But like Luke says, let's make it interactive. Let's talk. Let's chat a bit and talk about what goes into your Christmas, what goes into my Christmas. I was looking through some pictures. My cousin had sent me a stick with a whole bunch of pictures on that I don't know where he got them from, but there's a picture of my brother and sister who are both older than I am and myself, and we are all in red and white striped pajamas on Christmas morning. It looked like a prison break. I will never forget those pajamas. So if you have a similar or fun memory of childhood Christmas or Christmas this year, something you'd like to share, put it out there. We'll see what people come up with. What's your favorite meal? Ham, turkey, neither. I know somebody who makes lasagna for Christmas because they don't like ham and turkey. So, couple of anybody commenting? Not yet.
Okay. We eat steak tenderloin.
Steak tenderloin. Yeah, steak on the grill. That has been a common. Yep. In Wisconsin, a lot of people put their grill away when it gets cold, but here in Wisconsin, no, all year round. Doesn't matter what the weather is. It could be snowing.
My parents had their kitchen literally redone so that they could access the porch easier to get to the grill.
Yeah, that makes sense here.
So they can come in and out.
Yeah.
And cook on it all year long.
Yeah, I think my niece and her husband did the same thing, redid the kitchen entry. Yeah, we're kind of crazy here, but that's okay. It's what we do. It's what we do.
Eat, drink, and be merry. That's what we do.
Yes. All right. Any other questions out there? From the Featherweight Girls in Southern California. Wow. Oh, coming in June. Great. Featherweight people.
Oh, is that Chris?
Yep.
Yeah. I have the B08 right here. This is what I work on a lot. I think I told you I recently moved. This is the only machine that is running in my repertoire right now, and it is almost buried in my new sewing room, which is actually the master bedroom of the apartment I have. Everybody who helped me move this last weekend was like, "That's your sewing room?" I said, "Well, it makes more sense. I need more space. Don't you?" I mean, everybody needs more space for their sewing room. Don't have a lot this morning.
Did you want to talk about the quilt?
Oh, I did want to talk about. That's why I have this quilt in back of me. It's a good thing I have people here because my memory's not working, and I think collectively we're having a very busy season. But all right, I've already talked to some of the people in the January class, and they are getting prepped and ready for the January coat class. And I've talked to some people who have them signed up for May already. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some quilts that have been laying around here in the studio. And one of them is this really heavy wool quilt. Looks like it's made out of old coats, actually. It's wool and cotton, very heavy. Something like this would not be a good candidate for a coat. It's just plain too heavy. It wouldn't work well. I have another quilt here. This is a sweet little quilt. And this one is much thinner, much more drapey. You can see it's soft. Something like this would be an excellent candidate for a coat. There's, Kaylee, if you can come in right up here. Can you see that part of that fabric is missing? No, that way. Okay, older quilts will have that issue. And it's still fine if there is some missing fabric, as long as the surrounding stuff is pretty much intact. Although we had, I think I said this before, one of the people in my first class had a summer quilt, no batting in it, well loved, very fragile, that she made her jacket out of, and it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was soft and it looked very feminine, and she said she would just wear it, around the house, not out, but it was very pretty. So sometimes when you get these quilts that have a little bit of fabric loss, it's not a big deal. Then you know that it's been loved and worn. So just a couple of examples of things that were laying around here. And what's in back of me too is another example of just a nice older quilt that would be perfectly fine for what we want to do in our quilt class. I think we have the January people have information. I should send out information for February and March because people like to have a little time to look for their quilt. I've seen several on Marketplace recently, $100, $80, $125. So sometimes you can find something that's relatively inexpensive on Facebook Marketplace in our area. I don't know if I have some people coming from out of the area. They might have another means of finding a used quilt. We had some people who had quilts that they had made that they wanted to make into quilt coats. And those were a little stiff, but with the right nip and tuck, they looked just fine. So we have any other comments, questions out there? Homemade hot chocolate. Ooh. Oh God. That's quite cute. I can understand how that could happen. But I would like hot chocolate. That sounds kind of good. Sounds kind of good. Anything else? Okay. All right. Feast of 7 fishes for Christmas with homemade pierogies. I love pierogies. What kind? Regular? Sauerkraut? People make all kinds of pierogies now. It's not just the old-fashioned cheese in there. So, oh, that's James. Okay. All right. Pierogies. It's another Polish sort of thing. Looky.
Do you have any like deals or sales or anything?
Oh, deals and sales. Okay. Yes, we do. Good idea. Bernina, $5.70, $7.70. This month come with the embroidery module for free. So if you're looking to start doing some of what I've done up here, the $5.70 and the $7.70 this month till December 30th. So if you get money for Christmas, you can afford to have a new machine. The embroidery module is free. Right. And I've had several people who have talked to me about embroidery module. Why would I want an embroidery module? Well, you see, it's kind of fun. We can do, fun stuff. Even the smaller machines are capable of this size embroidery. So a 570 would do this just fine. So if you have a 570 and you want an embroidery module, we can make that happen too. Those would be ordered, but we can make that happen. Specials. We went over social. Anything else out there?
Well, Sandra wants to know if you can talk a little bit more about the quilt behind you.
Okay.
Part of Lisa's antique collection.
All right. Yes, it's part of Lisa's antique collection, and it is hand, I would presume hand pieced. It's hand quilted. Pretty little diamonds. It's got batting in it, but it is a sweet little quilt. Lisa has an extensive collection. So every once in a while we get to show some of her pieces instead of our pieces. There are several things on the frames downstairs right now one is for Lisa. I think 2 are for customers. So I think we had told you last week that we had some people in for training on the long arms, and they completed their training in the usual 2 days. I think they made panels, the Santa Claus panel and the snowman panel, and they did those on the long arm. They turned out very nicely. I was going to bind them, but my sewing room's toast, so I haven't gotten that done. Or I'd show them to you today. Anything else?
How do you input the design into the machine now? My 440 QE had to be connected to the laptop.
Okay, your 440 QE still has to be connected to a laptop. The newer machines, you can use a jump drive. So the older machines did have that direct connection. To the newer machines can use a jump drive, and the 990 and the 790 Pro can use wireless. So there's a variety of ways of getting your design into the machine. Like the pumpkin design that I have in front of me resided on the OESD website, and I have an account. So I downloaded that into my space on the OESD website, and then I downloaded from there onto my computer, and from my computer onto a flash drive. If I was advanced, I would have just taken it from my computer to my machine without having the jump drive in the middle there. But I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'm sure some of the people who have the newer machines have already figured that out, but I haven't. I could. So there's a whole variety of ways depending on your machine. All right. Anything else? Oh, yeah. I know the quilt is really pretty behind me.
Oh, James said he uses sweet cottage cheese for the food.
Oh, okay. All right. Traditional pierogi. All right. That's good. Because I have friends who make their own. And yeah, it's delicious stuff. Other people who like pierogies. Quilt behind me. 40. There's a comment here on how the imperfections of the antique, love the imperfections of the antique quilts. Yeah, a lot of people think that, especially show quilts, quilts that are going to competition, that things have to be perfect. Well, there is no perfect. And it kind of came home to me a couple years ago. I was in Paducah, and the best of show was a beautiful quilt by Karen K. Buckley. And I thought, oh, if only I could be that good. Maybe someday I could enter a quilt in Paducah. And the following year, I saw that same quilt at the museum, so I could get closer to it and take a longer look at it. And it wasn't perfect. I was shocked that, there were things that were not perfect. And I thought, oh my gosh, this won best of show at Paducah, and it's not perfect. So I think it's a big lesson for a lot of people to know that perfect doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. And we love these quilts just as much as we love the quilts that we make. So I learned the lesson about perfect. And then, of course, I did enter a quilt in Paducah. It didn't ribbon, but it went to Paducah. That's pretty cool. So if I can go to Paducah, most anybody can go to Paducah. Just have to have the guts to do it. That's a lot of the issue with people is like, oh, I don't want somebody judging my quilt. Judges only help you make a better quilt. They're there to help you understand what they see as ways of improving your quilt. I've had my quilts judged in many places, and nobody has ever said, this is the dumbest, or this is the ugliest, or this is, why did you put this in a show? It's ugly, it's bad, the technique's not good, the sewing's awful. Judges don't ever say those kind of things. They're there to try and help you make a better quilt next time. So, anything else?
Besides the pumpkin, what else are you working on?
Besides the pumpkin, okay, I am working on, right now there is is that Jenny?
Mm-hmm.
Jenny saw this at Bernina Social. It's the design, the Merry Christmas design with the little trees on that Katrina was working on. So I have some embroidery on the machine downstairs. I have this going on. I have some handwork. I actually do handwork occasionally. Like I said, I just moved and there's chaos, and so I could unearth a project that I just purchased because it was out on the kitchen table. So I've been working on some handwork. Other than that, here we've been trying to keep our long arms caught up and Kalina's done an excellent job with trying to keep that going. Just trying to keep customers informed, happy. That's what I do. All right. Anything else? Nope.
All set.
All set? Okay. All right. Unless we have any other questions or comments, we'll have a short show today, which is just fine. Everybody's busy. Do we have any prizes?
Not today.
Not today. Okay. All right. We haven't met our minimum daily requirement for prizes, so off we go. And as we always say, clean and oil your Bernina. See, I said Bernina this week.